All right, you ready?
Yeah, but I don't have the feed up yet.
Oh, you'll get there. Here we go. Welcome back to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Wade and Shane on episode 199.
The eve of 200.
200 most likely to happen down at Deck Expo. So if you're around, when are we going to be allowed to talk about what we're doing down there? Soon? Well, stay tuned for what we're doing down there soon. Where to find us.
I don't know. I don't think I told anybody I wouldn't talk about what we were doing.
We have some details to figure out and then we'll post about it. So follow us on all our socials if you'd like.
Fine.
Chances are if you're listening to us, you already do. Wade, would you rather? Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Boy, you're into this pretty quick.
Yeah.
No small talk.
I got shit to do. Would you rather give up social media or eat the same dinner for the rest of your life? You get to choose the dinner, but the same thing for the rest of your life, or give up social media,
I'd give up social media.
personally and business.
I'd give that up.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. No sacrifice for the greater good here, hey?
Nope.
We built this business on social
Yeah,
media.
but you
Come
run
on.
most of this stuff. I
Yeah.
we asked if I would give it up. I could give it up.
Easier for you than me, 100%. Boy, that'd be tough to give that up, but I don't know that I could because I feel like we have just built this business and any future business will be like it is on social media. I feel like I couldn't do that. And if I got to choose and just eat pizza every day for the rest of my life, I could absolutely get sick of it at some point,
Oh,
but I would
just
take a good run at it.
Pizza? You don't have to be, when you said the same meal, I assumed it was meat lovers pizza. The same. Not,
Sure, well, that's fine. I would probably choose that one all the time anyway.
but then you die of scurvy 6 weeks
Hey,
in.
you know what? We all got to go somehow. If I go out eating pizza,
I'll post about it on your social channel.
real good then. Yeah, you will. Work a high-paying job that you hate,
Yeah.
or your dream job with only enough money for basic necessities.
High paying job that I hate.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What if you hated it so much, though, that it just made you miserable 24/7? Have you ever had a job like that? Aside from this one?
I have not had a job like that.
So I had a job like that one time, and I was miserable. It sucked. And so, if you really hated what you did...
But was it high paying?
No.
Right. So that's the difference.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
But
when
you're at your job for 40 hours a week.
right, and who's awake for only 60 hours a week? You're awake way more. Right? And so
Okay.
I would say you're awake for likely 8 more hours a day.
I think we need to... what's high paying? How do you
Right.
define that?
In my head, high paying is $225 or $250 a year.
Yeah. If you've
And
got...
so if I can make $250,000 a year,
Yeah.
and work 40
Eating
hours
shit.
a week, eating shit, I wouldn't care, because as soon as 4:30 hit, I'm like, poof,
Boom.
God, I would suck the drapes off the window every day at 4:30 because I'd be gone so fast out the door.
Yeah.
But then you have another 8 hours to do things you love, and if you're making so much money. You could then go and, I don't know, you could work for 4 weeks and then you could take a week off and fly somewhere and be gone for a week.
Yeah.
Right? And because you don't have to make it back to your job. You don't need to. You work 2 years and afford a house, and work 2 more years and afford another house in a new location. And so you could work for 8 to 10 years of bad, you could hate your job for 10 years. But then be done work
Right.
permanently.
Yeah, if high paying is open ended, yeah, I'll shovel shit.
Right. No problem.
Get a text from a one night stand saying I'm pregnant or saying I have an incurable STD.
Pregnant.
They're both lifetime commitments on that one, hey?
Yep.
Okay.
But I don't have kids, so
Easy for you to say, yeah.
it's easy.
Boy, that depends on I think this depends on who the one night stand is, Like,
Yeah.
if she's awful, maybe it's better just to take the disease and run. Anywho, for him, I'm not one to judge. He wouldn't.
He wouldn't get
be
pregnant. Unless he decided he was a she. And
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm not even going to attempt to do this, but you came up with the topic today.
Yeah.
And once again, if people are listening to this, Deck Expo starts right away. We're going to be there. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. We're leaving in like a week and a little bit.
So Fraser's going to come with us,
He is.
which would be really good. So anybody that meets us down there and listen to this podcast, you can meet the guy that runs the Regina store.
Yeah.
It's probably
we should
why
give
that
him a
store
nickname.
runs so much better.
Chevy? Should we call him Chevy?
Oh boy,
His last name being Ford. That's the only joke. But he actually drives a Chevy, so it wouldn't be that funny.
that's pretty funny.
What's up, Chevy? I'd like to.
We should
I think we should name him something that takes a dig at either the Calgary Stampeders, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Those are the things he likes.
Yep.
He's a weird dude. Or the Calgary Flames. Anywho,
So he'll be there,
yes.
and he's never been to Vegas.
Which I find super strange because it's not like he doesn't travel.
He travels a
He
lot,
goes to Florida all the time.
and he's been to like Ensenada, California.
Okay.
He loves like the West
Yeah.
Coast
Yeah.
and Florida.
But he just likes being close to the water. But he lives
and
here.
warm. He likes warm places by the ocean.
Yeah. It's not where he lives.
Nope.
It's not where he lives, not even close. But
So
yeah, he'll be down there too. We got about
That's
a week
exciting.
to train him how to help us set this podcast up.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's not going to work.
No, that's not going to happen. Anyway, the topic for today, episode 199, Wade came up with, and it's about giving back to the community.
So I didn't actually come up with this.
Okay. Well,
So-
you had me fooled.
Jason,
I didn't come up with it.
Jason from Newcastle texted me today and was like, "Hey, thanks for the shout out on the podcast yesterday. Like, I really appreciate that and whatever." Right? And I was like, "It's good that we were able to work your product back into a podcast." It was like, I think he's one of those guys that's helping like drive the industry a little bit further
Yeah,
in general.
sure.
And I was like, "What do you think we should do for a podcast today?" And he said,
Oh,
"Why don't you do something about giving back to the community?"
this was Kaysen's idea. Kaysen Jason.
That's right. And so I was like, done. Because after 199 episodes,
I sent you away and said, come up with a topic.
I didn't. But
And all you did was delegate.
hey,
Well done.
I got it. He gave me the broad scope. And so then I dug into it a little bit on my own.
Should have just called him up and had him on the pod.
Should
Just
have.
had him like
He's
dialed in
probably
here.
busy though.
Are we on YouTube? Do we have people?
There was 3 people in here.
Good. One of them was Kaysen.
Nope.
Kaysen Jason.
We got 6 people in there.
There we go.
have
Set
Raven
records.
and Precision.
What's up, boys?
Kevin and Scott are in here checking it out.
See both those guys next week.
That's right.
A couple weeks.
All right. So giving back to the community.
Yep.
I took two like paths with this community. One is the community you live in,
Okay.
where we are. How do we help here
Regina.
locally? How do we help
Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan?
Okay, sure. Sponsor curling bonspiels.
That was
Number
what
one.
I thought of.
Yeah.
So I do these different than you. You're a list guy. You're like, I want a list.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And me, I'm like, I just want talking points. Don't care if it's a list.
Okay.
Because I hope we can elaborate on each of the things.
Good
So,
luck.
yeah, because you're just going to be like, I'm not.
Pretty short on words.
Yeah. So the first thing I wrote down was like, look for local charities that need some help. And what I was thinking about with that is COVID has been like an absolute like killer on events like this, like charities and communities. Because
Yes.
like, a lot of people don't have a ton of money to donate.
Right.
They donate time.
Yeah.
And you weren't allowed to go anywhere. You weren't allowed to go help these
Time
things.
was taken from you as well. Yeah.
Right. And then everybody was concerned about money as well because they didn't know if their jobs were going to be secure. And then a lot of people did lose their jobs. If you think about the hospitality industry, that was all gone. So now there's not disposable income.
Right.
now there's more people needing to use these community-based support systems.
Yeah.
And so it was like, well, those things are like, they've been depleted. COVID's now over. Yeah, maybe. Might be in the 5th or 11th wave or whatever we're in.
Yeah.
Could be happening.
Yeah. Well, it's something
Just
hitting the world right now.
2 more vaccines, we should be good to go. And then now people are like trying to use these systems again, and there's no people there. There's no, like, nobody's, the community that they had that was helpful is not around as much anymore, right?
The volunteerism,
Correct.
the charitable attitudes,
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, it kind of dried up.
Just all of that, right?
Quit helping people!
They're
Can't be close to them. Hard to help them if you can't be close to them.
right. And so now it's like, well, but now we could use some help again. So I feel like people could look up or look for groups like that to maybe just try and help a little bit.
Yeah.
Get back to that like community sense of giving back.
Which we in Saskatchewan here are quite well known for, if anybody hasn't heard.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan is, people from Canada are generally considered to be fairly friendly. Saskatchewan takes it up a notch. It's like we're like the friendliest of the friendly here.
Yeah.
And we do have, it's very small town vibe in this province. People definitely do, the volunteerism is there. It's like very community focused in this province. So I hear you.
Yeah. So hopefully some people will start to do that again. It doesn't have to be money. Like I said, it could be time. And then so I wrote down a couple examples of things that we've done in the past that I thought would be nice to see those come back. Or I don't want to go so far as to say that like we should start doing that, but if something like started to happen again, then I could see us getting on with that. So one example is Build Love. So that was the one where it was like you found a house or some people within the community that either didn't have the means or didn't have the money or whatever, something was up or they were not well.
The few times it happened, or at least the second time, it was like people were able to submit their like potential recipients of the Build Love program, I guess. And it was generally focused towards people who there might have been a disability or like they were some sort of hardship. The 2 years it happened, it was disability, right? We had,
correct.
I believe the first lady had MS, if I'm not mistaken, or some muscular disease.
I think that was the second one. The first one was the
little girl.
Yeah.
I guess they both had. Little girl was like
a
muscular
disorder, right?
Yeah.
She was like kind of born like that.
Yeah. And then the second one, I think, was
and the second one was a lady who had MS, and they had to renovate the house, and it was like
so people have mobility and accessibility issues within their own homes.
Right.
Like they're imprisoned in their homes, essentially, right?
Yeah. And so it was like a bunch of contractors that came together and sort of fixed up the house.
Yeah. Fixed up.
Yeah.
Like
then changed.
Wasn't just painting the walls,
Yeah. Changed it.
Giant overtaking. Yeah.
So
undertaking.
So that whole thing is now gone.
Yeah.
Organization doesn't seem to be around. I don't know. I don't know if it's actually gone, but we certainly don't see anything about it anymore, which is too bad because that was a whole bunch of people that were just together helping the community.
Yep.
So it'd be good to see that again. Just a little more like people like helping, a little more emotional.
Yes.
The other thing that we did was we built these little cedar shacks, huts. They look like I can't describe it any other way than like
go ahead,
a little birdhouse.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
The other thing that it could
shelter
look like
for the blankets.
Blankets. The other thing that it could look like was in the community you have these like community libraries that have a door on them.
Yeah.
So it was like that, and then we put. I don't remember what they were, like a foil blanket to help people
emergency blankets,
maintain heat, right? And so we put those out on 2 or 3 different occasions right before a real cold spell happened. It was like, it's going to go down to -40 for like 3 days. And so we went out to some areas in the community, both in Saskatoon and Regina, and we put these little bird houses up and then filled them with the blankets. And the intent or the hope was that if somebody walked past and saw it, they would take one or it would make its way to someone.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's programs and there's stuff out there to help homelessness, but not enough.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate reality, like it feels a little bit silly to even just do that. It's like, well, couldn't you do more? It's like, well, yeah, maybe.
I feel like we probably should do more, but like what?
Right. But the inevitable ugly truth is that people do spend the night outside. Excuse me. Whether there's somewhere to go or not, they're stuck outside. So this was our way of trying to assist in that situation. It's like, it's going to be awful, but like, we can help by providing providing shelter in a way, I guess, or like at least a little bit of warmth or
something,
some sort of protection from the elements from these people that just don't have anywhere to go. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other reason that we went with those blankets is that they weren't just like it wasn't a warm cup of coffee and it's over, right? It was like, well, this is
functional.
Maybe this will work for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was.
And we'll do that again this year. We still got more of them, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we left the bird houses out, the blanket houses.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, they're gone then.
Maybe. But I went back in Saskatoon like maybe 2 months later, and they were both still where they were. But we had touched them.
Really?
Yeah, they were just there.
Yeah, we put I don't know if the signs are still up or not. We put a little sign there that just said like text or call this number when it needs restocking.
Yeah.
And
or it was like restock it yourself if you have an idea of what should go in there, right? It was like,
yeah, but we kind of left it open for people to like, if you have scarves you want to donate, throw them on top of these things, like whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I thought about some ideas, things that we could do this year or other people could do. So I wrote down soup kitchen. You could just volunteer at a kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, it seems silly, right? Like you talk about, do you actually do that because it's only like 1 day or 2 days that you give in, like you give, but I guess that's better than not giving the 2 days.
Yeah. Every little bit counts.
That's what they say. So, and then I thought, as like a material supplier, you could donate to trade schools or stuff like that. So you could, much less towards the like unfortunate or the really impoverished, but more towards giving to the people that are about to start to like really come into society and start to help and contribute. And it's like, well, those schools, although they could purchase material, they probably don't have enough funds to do all of that properly.
Yeah, and it's in a way it's giving back to our own industry too. Like there's you give back to your community and give back to your industry, and so that's obviously more on the industry side.
Yeah, you could work for Habitat for Humanity for a bit.
Yeah,
or run a contest, select a winner, build them a deck.
Sure.
So that's along the lines of that, like build love, right? It's like, well, maybe we should find somebody that's worthy of this and needs some help.
And that's how we were involved in the build love, was those people, yes, they needed their home to work for them, but they needed their entrances to their home and their leisure spaces outside to also be accessible in both cases.
Yeah.
And so we were involved in supplying, along with our partners, the materials to build the decks and ramps and whatever else, and the labor.
Yeah.
We have some contractors come out and help us with that as well. And made for a improved accessibility with a beautiful leisure space to enjoy the outdoors as well.
So both, we did both. But the first one, when that whole job happened, the only thing that I remember like specifically in great detail is Trevor, the AZEC rep at that time, putting the piles in. He was like twisting those Pilex screw piles in by hand. And
the front of the house was like, what?
And he was such a fit dude. Like he was like in pretty good shape, but when he twisted 4 of those in and he was sweating and was like swearing, he was so mad. He was like, these things are awful. Like what? Anyways, it was and
then he quit a few months later. He drove him right out of town.
Drove him into the ground, So so Eric is in this chat as well, and Scott Kelly wants to know if it's black and white for everybody else. It is.
We should have explained that.
It is black and white for everybody else.
So for those that are in the YouTube, and
5.
If you're not watching the podcast, you're wondering what this is all about. We did that on purpose, and we have the little picture-in-picture bubbles of our heads in the middle there in color. And we thought last week that with it all in color, it kind of like took away from the little chat camera angles. So we thought we'd try the background as black and white, and there's a reason for it beyond today's live recording as well. But let me know what you think. Does it look kind of neat? Is it distracting? Do you not like it? I think you'll
Kevin
see.
says, yeah, the boys are feeling classic today, maybe. Eric thinks it's because of budget cuts.
Yes.
It costs more to put color on the screen.
Yeah, I don't want to pay for the color camera.
Okay, so
I think it's a cool look.
we'll give back, possibly give back a deck. I think that'd be great. And so then I also wrote, Christmas is coming. So if you have any cash available, that's maybe a good thing to do. It's like maybe just give a little bit of cash to the shelters right now.
Yeah, there's also those, I'm sure most cities would have this, the adopt a families for Christmas, whatever, where you can kind of donate gifts and whatever for kids that are in families that aren't fortunate enough to have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Which is always nice too. I know that last year we looked into doing some other stuff as well around doing, and we never ended up pulling it off because we had some pushback, but doing hot chocolate or like something downtown where it was kind of like,
Oh yeah.
go out and hand out like warm. We said before, it's not like it's just a warm coffee, but we were going to do that as well. And I know that it wasn't pushback, but one person was like, how about, like, that's a good idea, but there's lots of that happening right now in December because everybody gets a little bit more givey at the holiday times.
Yeah.
What about like doing that at another time of year? What about saving because we also had donated to a coffee shop. We had donated some gift cards. There's this one great little coffee shop in Regina that has, I can't remember what they call it. It's like their giving tree or their wish tree or something like that. Yeah. And they hang little ornaments on it, but they also allow their patrons to pre-purchase a meal or a drink or a coffee or something like that and hang that little pre-purchased ornament on the tree. And then if somebody who can't afford it that day or is having a bad day or just needs like a little hand up, they can go in, take the pre-purchased item off the tree, go redeem it for that item. And so we had thrown some money their way and said, let us transfer you some money, just put a bunch of ornaments on the tree. We'd like to just like fill your tree up and make sure that people have a warm meal or coffee if they need it or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, we did that as well. But I around that same time, I remember somebody saying like, how about like we just like hold on to this for a little bit because nobody cares in February. Like everybody's kind of does their giving at Christmas and then they stop and it's like the worst is yet to come otherwise.
Isn't that the truth? It's like February is like the darkest month, right? It's like it's the blue month. It's like the most suicides. It's like it's bad. It's a bad month. And part of that is probably that the charity is gone. People like stop giving.
Yeah, because everybody does get a little bit more charitable at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Like that's just the spirit of Christmas, right?
And then they get their credit card statements.
Yeah.
And they're like, ugh.
And then January 1st comes and they make all these
I'm going to be better.
Yeah, what do you call it? New Year's resolutions?
I'm going to go to
for themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm done giving. Now it's about me. Yeah. I'm getting a gym membership instead of whatever.
She used both times this year.
Anyway.
Okay, so that was my idea behind community as in like regional, where you live.
Yeah, giving back in your community.
Got any ideas other than that? You got anything that I missed?
To expand on that?
Sure. What did I miss?
No, but I think that, especially in winter cities like we are, it's tough to get people out of the house. This is why it gets depressing in February for a lot of people because they just hole up, right? And I know the city's been doing the cities, Regina and Saskatoon, have been trying to do a good job of like putting on winter events to get people out. Like it's not like most days are not so bad that you can't be outside. It's just like you just in your head you're like, it's cold, miserable, therefore I want to be cold, miserable inside.
Yeah.
But they've been putting on these events in the wintertime to help people get out. I think just even being a part of that, getting people out and like bringing your friends and family out of the house to go do things is probably has a benefit too, at least from a mental health perspective. And it's like costs you nothing there. It's just the idea of getting off the couch and getting out and doing it, or volunteer in these organizations because I know a lot of them are volunteer driven. You know, when they're doing these Waskimo Winter Festival or Frost Winter Festivals, a lot of it's volunteer driven. Yeah. Or small businesses that are donating or putting on events or hosting events, their thing to be part of this bigger festival. So there's certainly an opportunity there to get involved that way and try to like share some of that or create some sunshine in the middle of the darkest the darkest months. Yeah. So there's that too. I think like small towns, like I said, they always have something going on. So, like I can't think of the last time I was actually out at a small town thing, but we both grew up in a small town where that's like, it is all about community in small towns and just like pitching in. It's like when there's an event going on, everybody gets involved to make it happen.
Because you have to. And it's
that's your socialization opportunities as well, right?
It's both. So you socialize because you do like what I can think of from back when we were in Arcola is that you would always have like a fundraiser for the rink, but it would be a fowl supper.
Yeah.
And so you'd go and a plate of food would be $20 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But all the food was donated.
Yeah.
Like every single person that attended did something. They brought mashed potatoes or a pie or a turkey or whatever, right? And then the rink would buy the roast beef and the cooking of the roast beef, but everything else was donated. And the whole town would come.
Yeah.
You would all pay to be there. You'd bring food and pay to be there, and then the following year the lights in the rink would be better.
Yeah.
It was like, which was good because 90% of the town used the rink somehow, right? Maybe it was curling, maybe it was hockey, maybe they played, maybe their kids played, but in the summertime it was also where weddings were hosted. And so like, yeah.
I'm going to say one thing, just to like, pet peeve of mine.
Fine.
That's kind of related. Santa Claus parades. So I think they're great. I think the idea of them is great. Yeah. But like, we know about this guy, right? What he does? No, I think Santa Claus parades are a great community thing. It's like, it's nice in the season to go out and do that and like be Christmassy and see a lot of people and get people out, and like the kids love it, right? If you are going to do that, I'm not saying you have to, I'm not saying this is one of the things you should do, but if you're going to participate in a Santa Claus parade or any parade, make an effort. This is a pet peeve of mine.
Okay.
Because I've got kids, we want to go to the Santa Claus parade, and you go there and it's like, if all you're going to do is bring your tow truck and drive it in the parade with no decoration, no interaction, no like throwing candy, you just put a pair of reindeer antlers on your headlights and then drive through the parade in your giant tow truck. Just save us the time in the parade, standing outside in the cold, and don't go in the parade.
Okay. Now you know.
It pisses me off. Yes, you're supposed to be able to get this little bit of brand recognition from going in the parade, but that's not the sole reason. You should be that's the benefit of being involved.
Byproduct of it.
Right. The 90% should be an effort to like put a smile on kids' faces and have the community come out and enjoy what you're doing and do something neat that people are like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. So either build a display, have music, hand something out, do something. Don't just drive your branded vehicle in the parade. You do that every day down the street. I don't want to go out in the cold and watch you drive slowly down the street. Like, that drives me nuts. So get involved in the Santa Claus parades because they're great, but put in the effort too.
Okay.
People are still going to see your brand past your display.
Now you know.
Now you know. There, I had to get that off my chest.
Whew, that was good. It's like therapy, this thing. Hey?
Because I go every year and I get disappointed.
It's over. It's over. You said it was done?
Yeah. Now it is.
Next, community could be your industry community. So that's like for us, the decking community, retail, builder, contractor.
Yeah.
So that community is pretty good. There's a lot of Facebook groups.
Yeah, and more popping up all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I think that Instagram was like huge for that, right? It was like that. I really feel like Instagram kind of started building this community of people.
I do think that, we used to call them Instagram meetups. We used to be like, oh, I know you from Instagram. I feel like that platform's prowess is lessened. And now it really is the Facebook groups.
Yeah.
It's come full circle, right? It's Facebook and then Instagram, and then it's like back to Facebook a bit on as far as the industry community goes.
Groups go, right?
Yeah.
So, like some stuff that I've observed over the last, I'm going to say year, maybe a little bit more than that, is that it's really, really changed from we all used to help each other and we all used to share and talk and try to build each other up and like give each other tips and pointers and as far like I've seen it go as far as two competitors in quotations sit down and go through their spreadsheets and be like, this is how I price jobs.
Right. Yep.
And I watched that. I watched Kevin and Mike do that.
Yeah.
And I took a picture of it. It's on my phone because I was so blown away by the idea that two people that absolutely would bid against each other in a job were just trying to help each other. It was like, I just want you to be successful. And I feel like what's happened in the last year and a half or two is that we've all gone to like our own camp, if you will. And it's like, if you're a Trex guy, then you're a Trex guy, and everybody else is shitty. And if you're a decorators guy, then they're all using inferior products. And if you're an AZEK guy, then it's like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I don't know why that happened. I don't know what has happened over the last 2 years, other than this like global pandemic, that would make people like introvert like that so much. Because it was really good what was happening. People were giving information like freely to anyone.
You know, I think it's just an evolution of it. I believe it's gotten fairly cliquey, to be honest. And I don't think it was so cliquey before. You know what I mean? Like if I think back to my first Deck Expo, which was 7-ish years ago in Chicago, from there until I would say even up to our last one before COVID hit. Like we missed the one last year, but like 3 years ago in, I don't remember what it was, Louisville maybe that one was, or Nashville or something.
They all had bourbon, so it's hard to remember.
Right. I think in that era, it was just kind of like, it felt much more open. It didn't matter what brand of decking you installed. You were worried about like sharing and learning from each other about the tips and techniques and the running the business parts of things. And now I think maybe it's because the actual manufacturers themselves have started paying attention to these groups. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
It wasn't like when we went down before to meet up with everybody, it was like we were looking forward to meeting up with Infinite Decks, like Mark and the crew from Infinite Decks, and
Level Home Improvements. It was
level improvements, yeah. And like you just went to meet the other contractors. And in the last couple of years, the manufacturers have really put a focus on trying to like infiltrate these groups and create the groups.
And they're also infiltrating that meetup. So these events happen, and now it's like, it's like the manufacturers have realized that there's so many contractors there that they're no longer going to these shows to then party with themselves. They're like, let's go to these shows and then create events and invite contractors to attend. Yeah. And so what used to be a bunch of free time for contractors has now turned into scheduled time in your camp's hosting facility. Yeah. Trex has their event, and AZEK has their event, and Decorators has their event, and they're all trying to have better events than the other guys because that's part of the sales for why you should install their board and work with them. Some of these builders are so big that they could easily reach top tier on every single category or on every single brand, right? Like I remember talking to a contractor who was like, my very first job, I am immediately at their top tier when I do one job. Yeah. And so that guy could do 3 jobs and be top tier with Decorators, Trex, and AZEK. Yeah. And he could be invited to all of those events.
Except almost for sure he'd get pressure or like somebody would be trying to push him out and make him exclusive to somebody. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
But, and so like, I think it's become cliquey because some of the, I don't know if we're getting off on a tangent here or not, but it's like, we started on this path, so let's finish it.
I don't have any notes left. So.
But it's become cliquey because now all of a sudden, with Decorators, for example, they've done such a good job of like really being involved in the contractor community and bringing a lot of influential contractors onto payroll, we'll say, and creating these groups that it's kind of like you're either in or you're out. So they've got this consortium of contractors who are out there really telling the goodwill and the good graces of Decorators out on social media, which is only ever going to give push, like somebody's going to push back. You know what I mean? Yes. If you get too loud and proud about anything, doesn't matter what it is, you'll find somebody who's like, well, just devil's advocate,
Yeah.
Or just like we'll push back because it's like, well, I'm not part of that clique, and so
Yeah.
you're being loud, so I'm gonna put my shit up too. Like everybody gets defensive.
Sure.
So yeah, of course, like certainly, and I'm not blaming the manufacturers. Of course, they should be doing this, and it's good that they are involved. Like contractors have more access to their rep or to the company, or whatever. They're being heard more. That's a good thing. But I think
As
that's
long
just
as they're listening, as long as those manufacturers are listening to what the guys are saying.
right.
To a
I just
point.
think that probably explains a little bit about why it's become almost more competitive again between people. Like look at the threads that are popping up in the Facebook groups right now, right? There's a guy who's having some trouble with some Decorators product.
Yeah.
You know, he's had some jobs go in a row with some defects. Well, everybody's been touting the praises of Decorators for how long now? A couple of years now. Everybody's like, it's the best. And they're shitting on everything else. And now, the second that there's a problem, all of a sudden the shit gets poured back on them 10 times. Because everybody who's been like, who wasn't in the clique, the Decorators clique, is now coming back and be like, oh, all you perfect boards, piece of shit. Like, now all of a sudden you get, it's just conflict. Like, what happened to sharing tips and tricks instead of just like wearing the flag of a brand all the time? So
it happens.
Yeah.
It happens with every
It's just
brand.
an evolution of this, like, this community, I guess. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, you know.
So, and that's what we used to share. We used to build each other up. One of the reasons I thought it changed is I had mentioned that everybody is trying to monetize themselves.
Yeah, there's money involved in it now, right? So
There's money involved in like being a contractor working for these brands. You're being an ambassador. You're actually being paid to say these things.
Yeah.
But there's also the idea that we used to just freely give information.
Yeah.
And now people are like, well, I'm not going to give it away for free because I'm valuable. And now
Yeah.
I'm going to charge you for that. I'll create these channels, whatever. It's a YouTube channel. So you create a channel and now you charge people to view your information. And it is 100% hypocritical of me to say that you shouldn't charge for that because we do that. We have sponsored podcasts. We make money on these things.
yeah, but I can tell you that when I was building still with Fresh Decks years ago before, and I had a good, I had a pretty good following on Instagram at the time, right?
Yeah.
20,000 people on Instagram 7 years ago was a big following on Instagram.
Betcha.
There really wasn't anybody outside of Dr. Dex himself who at that time would have 80,000 or something.
Yeah.
That was a big account at that time.
Yeah.
I was probably right up there in the top 3 as far as the following went at that time.
Yeah.
Not once was I ever worried about monetizing or how am I going to make this? How am I going to flip this into whatever? It was just about sharing and it was fun, and you got your rush, your whatever from your endorphin rush from getting comments and whatever. But it was just about sharing and being part of the community, and it was nice to have that little tiny splash of social fame, whatever. When you went to events, people would know you or want to meet up. That part was fun.
Yeah.
But at certainly no point was anybody worried about monetizing that audience at that point. And now it's become, a few people have done it. And so everybody's looking at it and you're like, well, I want to grow a big audience to monetize.
Yeah, because that's the goal. The
Right.
goal is no longer helping. The goal is getting rich or
Yeah.
getting famous.
And so some people do it well. Some people don't forget that the way they're going to get there is by continuing to help. And some people have lost it and been they stopped providing the value and instead they're leading with you're going to pay me for my value.
Right.
And it's that just turns people off right away. That's not
It
the way
seems
the
to,
internet works.
right?
So.
And it's and you've lost the way that got you there. And what got you there was being helpful because that's what people want.
Yep.
It was you were giving back to your community and you're it was wholesome and genuine.
Yeah.
And now that's gone. So.
Which is fine, but it's
Yeah, but
that's why you've lost your clout a little bit, right?
well, and it's also it's fine, but it's also when the point of this podcast is to try and help other people.
yeah.
And so
Right. Sure. Yeah. Right.
yeah. So I don't know if that's whatever. Maybe it's not for everybody. So, IG community grew because people just wanted to share and be helpful, and now that's on TikTok. It seems. So that's seems to be
certainly the platforms are shifting a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody still wants to give back. Everybody still wants to, not everybody, but I believe lots of people are still fairly genuine and still want to help. But
TikTok's
not
poison
happening.
though.
It's
You know
not
what? I
happening.
don't remember ever getting shit on Instagram or Facebook the way you get shit on TikTok when you
Yeah.
post things. And when you try to help on TikTok,
Yep.
it's just full of people that just want to shit on you and one off you. It's so funny. Like, you can't let it bother you, but it's like, it's full of like trolls.
Trolls.
That platform. It's a different environment.
right?
Yeah.
So the people that
But
are
I think
trying
it's
to
funny,
help
but-
seem to have moved over to TikTok, but maybe that's it.
And the Facebook groups. I really think the Facebook groups is where the camaraderie has moved. I don't think there's as much camaraderie in TikTok.
No.
But in the Facebook groups, because it's probably like more restricted access to it, it's like some of those groups are like pros only.
Right.
So you're not going to get the shit if someone's in there to troll you.
But they're
just
not
gonna
even
get booted.
pros in there all the time.
No, it's true. Some of them are better than others for keeping them out. But I mean, you can control it, though, right?
Yeah.
If somebody's
Somebody
acting a fool, you can ban them from your group.
Yeah.
TikTok, it's just like
They're just there.
free reign
That's
in
fun.
there. So
So then my last point was that now that you're totally inspired by the podcast that we've given and you've actually made it all the way to the end, you could plan for next year. You know, it's possible that people haven't budgeted or haven't planned to donate to their community locally or within their industry.
yeah,
And so they haven't built their social content around trying to be more helpful, and they haven't allowed enough time to help at Christmas or in February or anything, right? So
Yeah.
I was like, think about that right now, because the year has come to an end or you're wrapping up your season. And it's like, I feel like our industry is one that probably should be helping a little bit more, because over the course of the last 2 years, we were one of the groups of people that was sort of protected from the downturn of COVID.
right,
In fact, what happened was most of us saw an increase
right.
because the renovation market boomed.
Yeah.
And so I think it's probably a good thing for us to do is to find some time to donate and find some money to donate, because during the last couple of years, we did well. Restaurant owners, hospitality folks,
Yeah, we made it at least, right?
a
We came out the
lot
other
of
side.
retail locations didn't do well.
Yeah.
So
Well, any social gathering place was up against it. That's for sure.
yeah,
I thought another thing we should probably add to this list is NADRA. If you're talking about giving back to the industry.
so I did actually. That's funny. I thought of them when I was putting this stuff down, but then it fleeted. It was
yeah,
gone.
and we certainly haven't been involved in to any extent that we should be preaching this, but we should probably do better. We hadn't, I was a NADRA member for a year when I was under Fresh Decks, and then we weren't for a long time. We did sign back up as a dealer for NADRA this past year.
Yeah.
And so we're in it, but we haven't, we promote it and stuff on the podcast. We do that, but
Yeah.
we're not involved too much in the events. We're a little bit from a, if they ask us to do something for them, we'll do it. Mind you, I found an email the other day and I totally forgot. And sorry, Heather, but I didn't reply to it either. It was she had asked us to make this funny video a while back about some pancake video, and it's I saw it, I guess, at the time, and then marked it as read, and then forgot to respond to it. I was
Can't
oh,
mark it as
shoot,
read.
Sorry. Anyway, so we're willing to contribute to the industry. I'm just not sure how to a lot of times, especially from where we are. It's not as
Geographically,
Canadian
it's a little bit
focus, but-
tricky for us, right? So
yeah, but certainly NADRA's out there doing things for our industry. So
Yes, they are.
Even just by being a member, you're supporting that by paying your membership fee. Gives them the ability to go and lobby government and work with building codes and everything else that they do for the industry. So if you want a little bit more of a hands-off approach to contributing to your industry, you could just sign up for NADRA membership and support the industry that way as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's other organizations in Canada that are similar, but not to the direct focus that NADRA is, right? So NADRA is North American Deck and Rail Association. Is
Yeah.
The people that listen to this podcast are very much supported by that group, whether
Yeah.
you're paying or not.
Yeah.
For us, we're also a member of WRLA, and I'm on the board, and they do quite a bit of advocacy and government work for Canada.
Yeah.
in getting the tax credits for home renovations and windows and insulation and all that stuff. But that's a much bigger, that's a broader like building industry
Certainly.
group, right?
Yep.
But yeah, NADRA is good. And I think most people in this industry are aware of NADRA. If they're not, they should be.
Yeah, certainly ones that are already kind of engaged in the industry would be, but there's probably lots of maybe newer to the social scene ones that maybe wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Right? They like NADRA's a fairly small organization, so they don't have the reach that would result in every single guy that's ever built a deck or gal knowing who they were. But
Probably why they wanted you to do that video, right? Get your 20,000 IG followers.
oh yeah, that's a pretty stale 20,000 on that account now. I haven't done any of that in years. If I post, I'll lose people.
Yeah.
Almost assuredly.
Oh, right, that guy. I've
Yeah,
been
that guy.
meaning to unfollow him for
Yeah,
a while.
yeah.
12.
Yeah,
So,
it would happen pretty quickly.
yeah. Okay, that was it. That was the extent of my list. That was all I had.
Okay. Well, no, that's good. That ended up turning into a decent podcast.
It's a little preachy, right? It's a little like, be better, do better. But I don't know. I think everybody could use one of those once in a while. A little be better, do better
Nothing wrong with that at all.
talks. So,
Okay, well, we're a week away from heading down to Deck Expo. This will be the last, this will be the last released podcast before we're actually in Vegas. We'll probably record one more next week before we head down.
Ooh, we're going to record 200 so nobody gets a shot at it.
Right, or we could hold it for that. I don't know how we'll do that, but regardless, we will be set up at a couple booths there at Deck Expo. I don't know if the dates and times are confirmed, but we will share details on that once they are confirmed and they're okay with us sharing that, because I think we'll probably try to maybe do a bit of a meetup or something
Yeah, I think
around
we
one
should.
of those. So,
On one of them, for sure we should.
so if you've never been to Deck Expo before, or if you're curious about the podcast, or if you even probably a potential or an opportunity to get on the podcast,
Yeah.
if we pick that format, to come sit down and chat and, about stuff. But looking forward to the show, and I hope to see everybody there, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody who I haven't seen in a while. So I hit that button accidentally, but it was like perfectly timed.
Well done.
See you next week. That's it. Did anybody reply about whether they like the black and white thingy or not?
You know what? For some reason, that was lost.
What do you mean it was lost?
It closed on me. It closed.
Lost alive.
And then it came back, but it had no chat.
All
in
the
it.
chats are gone. Okay, fine.
So I don't know.
Okay, well, that's the end of the episode. So that's the end of live. We'll see you guys later.